That's what we do. There in the back. Oh, yeah, and I do need. Like there's no. I've been around enough for long enough to know, but I just went too fast. I don't look like I've ever chicken. Here's the thing, right? I can just like. You work with my parents. They let me go one every day. The end exam. It's like, I felt like a parent's carrying five, it's like, you know, you can't go necessary. Strange. It works out really well for me. They're all a little bit. I need to see how much more this charter stuff. That's all. Like they have $300 and yeah, like I forgot what I got hope from her.
Okay. If you still remember on Tuesday we tried to do some like SQL injection, but for the lab we tried to install all those that require like the MySQL, MongoDB we need to set up. But today we have a lecture, so mainly focus on the lecture. So I'll show you like if you are able to implement. That one just like is a template, is an example what I upload to you, but because based on our setup, like maybe the version. So when you need to able to do the SQL injection, then you need to modify the source code. Like you need to change the content, so make you able to do that. But for mine, I just like show you just a demo. So for this one, I'm using. Right now, just use the, let's say I use the MongoDB and this one and NoSQL. Okay, so I'm running the server using the source code. So I will show you the source code. So you can do it like for as a testing. So I start the localhost server like running like 3010. So before if I show you like running server on like 3000, actually you can change any port, but this one is the local port, so it doesn't matter. But when you need to like open it for like engineers, let the WAN to access it, then we need to like deal with the POP-C something. So this one, like you will have some information, but I try to cover more for the lab for the cybersecurity, or like you are able to know more in my other class. Okay. So let's say right now I'm running the server. I will show you the source code later. And if I want to do here's on the left hand side, I already using the MongoDB insert one of the record, and just I have a username and password. And what I'm trying to do also like let you to practice is I will just send a post to the server, and then let me connect to the. Okay. Let me connect to server. But right now, because it's running on the local server, I didn't do like any forwarding. So right here, I need to like log into the server. So I have 2 terminals. And when you check the command right here, so I will just using a post method. So when we're using get, so we will pass maybe some ID parameter through the URL. But if I need to pass the content, like multiple items like through the body, then you need to use the post method. So if the header is the JSON format, and then with the data. So you will see right here, I input the username and the password. And if I do it as first I let you see, okay, so if I have a account and the password, if I put things like this, just like any name, I shouldn't able to log in, okay? But if I try to do some like SQL injection doing something, so it will still pop out the message called login successful. But if I do it like in a regular way, and let me change it. Because when we are implementing the server, then we will like most of the time when we just like do it in upload the content, it always look like in this format. So I just like, okay, so what's the username? And then what's the value? And then the password and then value. Okay. Let's say I didn't put any correct information. And okay. So you should get the unsuccessful, but for me, I already bypass it. So you already visit the same and pretending. So you need to change the SQL and then let it to accept it and then check it. So let it to let the SQL to inject the like or condition, or we have the one I didn't mention, like NE or any code like GT greater than condition. So let the SQL thinking, okay, I will not only accept this condition, but also I will let the like fun function if we are using the NoSQL, or if we are using the SQL injection, then we will have like regular slash syntax. So we need to add the like or condition. So we have different way to do that. But nowadays, because the RMDS, let's say the MySQL or the MongoDB itself, also they try to handle the injection too. So it increase the difficulty. So maybe they will also, most of the time they will do the regular expression, and they will check, okay, did you try to input something or like inject something in the SQL? We just like try to do that, but sometimes it's really hard to like using the regular way to do the injection. But just we try to simulate, like, can we do that or not? Okay. And just like have some experience, let's say how the like SQL, the regular way, because like nowadays I'm running on the server, either is the database will be like MySQL, like regular RDMS, or just like NoSQL. So like either these two ways. So we need to learn, okay, if they're going to have an injection, then how can we do the prevention? Let's say sometimes we'll select it like one by one, or let's say for the prevention. Okay, sometimes when we have a query, then we will try to like check, we need to handle the like for the login post, then we will modify it. Make sure the password we need to deal with here. So you need to maybe change it to make it, we need to using the regular expression. Does it contain other like special keyword or like jobs? I didn't put it right here. So later I will, let me check if I post it, but later when you have more time, like it's a coming assignment, you can have a practice. So you see, okay, how can you try to do injection? You may not able to do it, but just like let you to experience like feeling. If I want to really try to using some injection, like some query to inject into it, then how can we do that? It's really difficult nowadays, like in not old time, they didn't really handle those query. But when first is like on our side, like as a client, we using this service, then we need to prevent it. So how can we detect? Okay, make sure like the username or the input like password, or sometimes when we have a text message, try to prevent they like try to add some special query. You can modify this one. So I will upload it, so you can like put the logic, you can try to, and just like knowing for different type, let's say we have the NoSQL, then for the NoSQL, then when we get the like input from the payload, then what should we do? Or like how can we check? Or like make sure the type of it is a string or something. So we need to add like multiple validation to make sure the input is like fulfill your requirement. Also try to prevent if they like put some special keyword to alter or remove your content or slightly. Okay. But this one is like for later in the lab for like kind of like practice, and then I will let you try. And for the details, let me control it, and then just want to let you see. But last time in the lab, I just tell you we have using the MySQL, or like also using the Express, or like sometimes we build our own server. We like have modules called Happy.js, and maybe we are using the even MySQL, there are multiple modules. When you install it, or like MySQL 2, MySQL LI, like they have multiple options for you to choose for the option for the node modules, and then the way they connect to it, also like when we try to implement, they have different ways. So we don't know how they actually implement their server, or like they don't know, we don't know the actual structure of it. So most of the time we just need to try by error. So we need to say, okay, is it this method works for this one? And then if no fail, then I need to try another method. That's how the hacker, or they want to like doing some things. So there's no actual way you say, okay, if I do this step, it works. Never. Because even I show you all the sample code right here, I mix different type of like modules, like even we have like different database. So you see, if we have so many combinations, then that means that we need to try different way to do injection. Also, in the older version, maybe the MySQL itself or MongoDB itself, it doesn't check the input. But nowadays, if I want to like inject like some example, those that they like in the old example, it works in the past, but it doesn't mean like for the new version, it works. Because they will try to like do the regular expression, they will check, okay, did you try to like add some special character, and then let me to do the injection. If you try to do that, even the command prompt will like don't let you to do it. So I tried to post the example right here. If I want to, let's say the SQL injection. Let's say if I want to try this one. Okay. Okay. So when you see the syntax like right below right here, let me see if I put it higher. Okay. So you see here like the arrow right here, the corner. Maybe when you try to follow my steps, or sometimes you see this one, so it detect the input doesn't compete, or like it's not competes command like to taking some action. So it's the same. So suppose for the old time, like irregularly with quotation and inside, it should work. But for the command part, like once you detect, okay, if you try to have some like special like character, like try to put some special pattern, try to post it, then they will just like detect and say, okay, it's not working anymore. So sometimes like itself in different layer, they increase the security level. Like we cannot directly post it, or they detect, okay, it's this format like fulfill. So we have multiple way to increase the security level. So it let us like for education level, it's like harder to you to experience, because those are outdated or old school way. It's common, everybody knows it, but they always try to prevent it. So they're not letting that low level injection like hacking way to access to their computer. So, but just like let you to experience like feeling, okay, if I want to like as a step one, then try to think, okay, how can I, based on their like maybe their website or based on their server API version or their infrastructure, then how can we find the like any backdoor or any way we can try to access it. Okay. Or let's say I try to finding, like if you are hosting a website, then I need to check. Also just try to let your experience, like we have the change the ownership, like we using the CHO or CHMO. Then also we try to like figure out, okay, did they all have like some high privilege? Let me to add some file or create any file, or let me to ingest something. Okay, not only a command, but also we can like also try to add or create a new file to execute some command. Okay, so just like let you to see and feel it. Okay, then let's go back to something regular, boring, just lecture part. Okay, we'll talk about the cybersecurity management. So just go back. So before we talk about we have the facts, and then also we have the like trees. So we will say, okay, so in here, like if you remember in the introduction, we say, okay, if we have a tornado, then it will impact the house. So we have different type like high, medium, lower impact based on itself. And because we know the structure, then we know the risks, then we need to do the like those like risk assessment. Okay. So for those like possible risks, then we need to listen. So we need to do. So a civil engineer is, let's say, it's right here, like planning to execute of an information system that will access the security configuration setting, and then the ITSS in a secret system high operating ECAVE. So please identify the attributes like required to enable you to determine the information protect need. So something like this, then we need to know what kind of attributes required to enable. So maybe that's what we learn, like for the files itself, and then also the right, the user. So all this, how can we determine? Okay. And also here's the news like for the Google Apps service, like biotech research company. So they will lose a lot, like just some example. And when we move forward, like for the IT security management, you see, we will always that the way we're asking like what are the assets need to be protected, like always we need to ask, and then how are those like assets like threatened, and then what can be done to encounter those facts like threats. Okay, so if you remember, like we talk about sometimes it's going to, when we have risk or like we cannot always like avoid those attacks. And so that's why we always have a process, we say like recovery, or like we call it backup. That's common in the industry, or in reality is that we always need to have doing that. So when we detect something happen, what should we do? And here the question we always try to like try to ensure that like the critical assets that is sufficient protect in a like cost-effective manner. So you see the key is like cost-effective. Of course, like when we talk about security, like or like in this industry, we say can we always get the highest spec, like everything have a top level. Of course, we can do that, but in reality, it's like we don't have that enough money, or like the company itself not willing to offer that much or not able. So let's say we need to do monitor. If you know like part of it is monitoring, yeah, are you going to hire like maybe like 2 shifts or like 3 shifts, like keep monitor checking the log? So it's impossible. Then based on our cost, then how can we like effectively to protect it? And then for security risk manage assessment, also need for like each asset like in the organization like that requires protection. Also like we need to provide the information necessary to decide like what management, operational or technical controls that need to reduce the risk identified. So just like kind of like idea you should know. Okay. So we always like try to maintain or like update regularly. So you using like different type like periodic security review, and then reflect the changing technical risk and environments. You sometimes see the term we call the auditing. So it's not the auditing is like also kind of like we say review. So try to checking the right, and also examine the role or importance of IT systems in organization. So you see, check here like objective. We wanted the IT security outcome, and then what are the possible strategy we're going to apply. So how can we meet it? And then we need to set the policy, and then identify what needs to be done. Okay, so that's how we going to do the first experiment. And for the security policy, then we need to like address like maybe the scope, and then the purpose, like including all those like relate to the like objective to the business, like legal or like regulatory requirements, or some like IT security requirement. So like itself is like maybe more like the company or like the organization operation. And then second, so we need to think like in technical way. Okay, how can we do that? Also like some like responsibility, and then the one we highlight is more like risk management approach, what the possible approach. So far like security awareness training. So all this you can look at it, you're able to see. So just need to know. So we need to know when the security policy, we need to like must be supported by the senior management. So we say need to provide consistent overall like supervision and liaison of the senior management and maintenance of like IT security objectives, strategy, policy, all these things, like just follow the information. And when the company size like getting bigger, or like they have a more like complex hierarchy, and then they have like more rights access like in there. So you will see they need to have a like separate IT project security officer associated with the major projects and system. So for the say the officer, because maybe from the last 10 years, getting more like hacking access to the like company resources data, there may be some like information sensitive data being stolen. That's really, I think there's more they increase the position that at least they have like called the, at least like one called the security or network security manager or like technician. So they're looking for those guys like to review all the like setting, no matter it's a hardware level, software, like some settings for the company. Okay. So right here for the risk assessment, that's what we like focus like the approach. So like what's the critical components of the process we need to know, and then ideally like examine every the organization assess. That means we need to know, and also the approach like to identify and mitigating the risk to an organization like the IT infrastructure. Sometimes if it's a new company, then of course it's easier when we're planning the system. Then we can like plan, okay, how can we set it in the beginning so we can already know what should we do. But you know, if we are some companies like when operating really long time and then they didn't have it, then we have to review their like existing one. So, and then based on what they have right now or like their daily operation, then we need to know, okay, based on what they have in this moment, then what are the possible risks. And also this one is easily increase the difficulty, because they always have a bad door, because especially when they're different team, also maybe they're not really well documented. Like you never know like what kind of like possible way. Also, they didn't really do the like auditing review, employee leave, they maybe still access. So all this we have a more like high risk we may not be able to discover. Okay. As a bottom line approach right here, the baseline. So this one, the goal is like implement the aggregate control to provide protection against the most common the twist. Okay. So And the forms are a good base like for the security measure. So we say what's the industry like best practice, like just like easy chip and can be replicated. That's what we're always thinking, like it's really common in the industry. So we try to call the baseline, at least we do something. Okay, let's set up something, the right SSL, the least privilege, and giving no special consideration to variation like in the risk exposure may give too much or like too little security. So we always like, here's is the always the first approach we're trying to do, like as minimum or like easy to do that. Then we don't have to like consider too much. That's really common like in the industry. Because when we have like extra needs, like for special access to the file, or like maybe some, in the hierarchy of a company, if the company say, okay, I want to do that, I want to able to do that, or a certain group, they are like allowed to do this, then we need to review everything and set up. So it's much more like, takes more time and much more cost. So you're not gonna. So generally, we say it's recommend for only small organization with other resources to implement more structured approach. Okay, so you say it's called a baseline. And then the informal approach. So here we involve like conducting informal and then pragmatic with analysis on the organization's like IT system. So we always need to review. It's much more common because as what I say, like we may have some new company, new stuff, then it's easier to build, just apply like those new. But most of the time is like the company already operate like for 10 years, 20 years, like long time ago. And so we need to know like what are the possible risks. Okay. And also we need to have like knowing the knowledge and expertise like for NS, and then keep moving forward. And then we need to like fairly quickly, and then we need shape, and then judgment can be made about the vulnerabilities and also risk that the baseline approach will not address. So here's the thing, just slightly more than that. It's an informal, and then some is maybe like encourage the access, and then some of them we need to like use for the, and that's like reverse like over time, and then suitable for the small, medium-sized organization. Just need to know. Okay. And the more like advanced, then we will, I say, the detail risk analyze. So we need to know, okay, so the most like comprehensive like approach, and then significant like costing the time, resources, expertise, and then we need to assess like using the formal structure process. So number of like the stage, identify that what kind of the trees. So the possible like threat is going to happen for the trees, and then identify the likelihood or the risk like occurring and consequence, all these things. Okay, information. Okay, suitable for, so this one is more like for the large organization. Okay, just need to know, okay, because we have different type of organization size, and based those size, we try to apply different type. So just need to know we have the one is a baseline, just like the least easy way. Cost is like cheap, and then we have the informal, and then more is becoming, that means detail. Okay. Also, sometimes we need to consider some like the legal requirement to use, especially in it should be applied to all the company, like no matter is a small company, medium, or like large company. But most of the time, the small company or like medium, they not really think about the legal issue. Okay, like it's reality, but in the lecture we should know. But sometimes like for the company like really doing, because when you need to fulfill all those legal stuff, then the cost goes higher. Okay. Okay. So when we know that all those like basic approaches, that is also is possible, right? We can also combine those like those different approach elements, like putting I use part of it. So we just like try to provide reasonable level of protection, just like key of it. So just make it reasonable and follow the lecture like slides. You say, okay, just follow this information. Like we need to deploy the key system over time, and we need to always like adjust the level, and the approach is start with the implementation, just say have a suitable baseline security recommendation on all systems. So here's the thing address we need to know, like baseline is always the must, no matter it's like small or big. So we always start with the baseline. So we need to just like either exposed to high risk level or critical, then we need to identify as a high level risk assessment. So we just need this, and then decision and can then be made to possible conduct as a immediately informal risk assessment. Okay. And this one we say what's the plan, the policy if we detect something, like when monitor, then what should we do? And here's the thing. And then keep moving forward. For the detailed security risk analysis, then we need to provide the most accurate evaluation of the organization IT system security risk. So here's always the first step. So it should make sense, right? We need to know the system itself, like what are the possible risks, and it's time consuming because for especially we know like for the large company, like the size, maybe they're different in different location, maybe they are more likely it's an international company, then they should have like in different location, maybe they will have different system version. Also, they maybe share some like common storage. And then how can you like also because maybe in different location, let's say they have some like store warehouse, let's say like this logistic, they maybe have different rights. So there are multiple systems. And are they all well documented? We say the document, that means that all the files like SS, like also let's say we have the API server, then do they have a really clear list like all those route, and then what the purpose of it, like who can access it, and then does those like require some like cookies, like maybe they require password to access. So all these things like is for well-structured a company, they do have a good document, but I heard like some of company when they never leave the copy, or sometimes they do have some documents, but once they like maybe some of the employee, they quit and then they didn't hand over to others, then they will lose the document. So they're hard to trace back. So it did happen to some company too. So either you have to, it's impossible to rebuild the system, like everything like reset it, then it costs time to, either you just leave it as a backdoor, right? Or like you just like pray for it. Luckily, nothing happened. But even the like Microsoft, like it happened, like even for a big company, they do have a backdoor and they didn't really able to discover it. Like so, it's really so that's why it comes out is a high. We always come with like highest the cost, yeah, because lots of things is not unclear. Okay, so for the initially focus on like addressing the defense security concern, and we try to like often mandate by the government organization, associate business. When more like those like government, then we even have more high security like checking. So if some policy for some company, if you want to access, they require you to using VPN. That one we'll talk about something about VPN for cybersecurity, like tunneling. It led you to I think some of you may be using VPN, right? So do know like VPN. Also, actually, VPN sometimes just like let you to. Most of you just maybe using VPN to like pretend you're in other country. Like maybe your purpose is like trying to get another IP address or pretend you're somewhere else. But also like for lots of company, we do using VPN. Then why we are using those VPN is like for the company. Like actually, maybe you are really close, right? Maybe you are in the same stage, or actually maybe most of the company they're just nearby, but they require you maybe if you go back home, you may be just 30 minutes away, 1 hour away, like 1 hour, but they still require you like if you're connect like remotely, let's say from home, office, maybe some coffee shop, maybe somewhere else, but they still require using VPN to access back to the company. Then why we need to do that? Or like, why we need to make it so complicated? Have you ever tried to remote, like set up your router and then remote your desktop at home? Have you ever tried to do that? No, nobody tried. All right, so you never like really like for configuring about your like router policy firewall. No. Okay.
A lot of the companies give out router modem combinations now, and they don't really let you mess with them.
Okay, maybe you are using your own router, or sometimes they provide a router to you. They always said lots of like that one's more like the hardware level, like to restrict you, so not allowed to you. Because I want to have a higher right to do that, so I try not to using the own router. So I use mine. Okay. So let's see if I translate, because we need to know more talk about the firewall policy in one, but we'll cover that. So
Oh, so the VPN though, so that it's pretty much makes it where you're on like your Wi-Fi, right? But then if you're on VPN, it's like you're technically on a separate network, right? So that's not accessible from that? Or how exactly does it?
You will ask a question, but this one I also want to ask, like based on your understanding, because we talk about the government, so I try to cover. Okay, so guess why as what you know what's VPN. We call it the virtual private network, right? So we call VPN. But I think like most the common way, maybe as a student, maybe like just normal user, you may just like maybe if you want to pretend I'm in Africa, I'll use the VPN, say I'm in Africa. So you would get another IP address. So we can check it. So then why should we using the VPN? Or like what's the benefit? We'll cover it later, like in the lecture later. But yes, why not? Because I asked a question. But when you are using like some government or some company, they do require you to use the VPN to connect or like remotely connect back to the like the organizations to access your files or computer stuff. You're the most simple way, because when I connect it, that means once I open it, then I will able to like from the WAN. So I will actually it's a security issue, because if I allow the WAN access directly, then maybe the hacker able to create your password, and also they may be able to find some like backdoor any port if you forgot to close. Sometimes we open the ports for like for some certain service, like let's say some application require update. So they will request, okay, I will use this port for updating or like access to the API server of this company. Like let's say I have a camera and then I need to do the update. But sometimes when you click the button update automatically, instead of like I download the file firmware update by itself, that means there's some way to download it. Maybe they will connect back to their own API server and then get it. Okay. And also, you know, especially the cameras, we have called the backdoor. You know, the company, they are able to view your actually they have a kind of like private gateway, we call the backdoor, to view your camera. This is pretty common. I know lots of them, they are able to do it. So if you try to reset it, they do have somebody help you to say, okay, I can help you to recover it. Even they don't know your actual, like maybe you put your camera connect to you, maybe there's a router and then you have one more router, like subnet, multiple subnet, but they still able to connect to that camera. So they have some way to do that. Okay. And for the VPN, then we call the virtual private network. So we will say like after you connect to it, sometimes we will need to use the some minimum one is the password, like user account password. Some of them they require using a certificate, like the public key, private key. So to access, so when you access it, it will prevent, okay, it's kind of like virtual environment. So you belongs to here, and you can access the devices. Okay. So they will restrict the like or block other access from the web. But once you connect to the VPN, they will pretend, so you're pretending you are the concept is more like, let's say in this room, okay, everyone's like outside this door are locked, so nobody can able to access it. So I would say it's more like internally accessing. But if I put the laptop right here, and then if you can remote back to your laptop, then you can see, you can view everything right here. And then you can print it, and maybe you can use the printer or like maybe use a screen monitor, do anything. So once you have a like trustable device right here, so then you belongs to this so you kind of like pretending you are inside this environment, not the outside room. Yeah. So here's the idea. And I say here like the lower level is like for especially when we talk about government or some organization like with higher security, then we need to do that. Okay. So right here, the access identifications or the last component need to identify is the access. So anything that need to be protected. So because it has a value to the organization and contribute to the successful attainment of the organization objective. So just know anything. Okay. Terminology. So right here, so we're like the access. So will be right here. System resources and capability of a value and its owner of a request protection. If you sometimes we talk the third is the action itself, and then we have the trees. So we know the terms that comes out if you still remember. Sometimes we always say, oh, so what are the threats? And then what are the trees? Okay, so trees is more like action. So and the potential for address the resources to like expose like vulnerability in some assets, which of course may like compromise the security of the assets and then cause a harm to the assets owner. So we know, and then vulnerability and so it's the flaw of the weakness in the assets design. There's no perfect design, and that's why we always lost an update. Just have an idea of this one. So like implementation or operation, and also the management could be exposed by some like tweaks. Okay. And some tweaks like anyway, so maybe in operation or they try to hack it. So this one is like we have that's why we say the threat and twist, they always come together. And then risk, so the potential of like loss compute as the combination that I hope they given the twist. Okay, so here's the things going. And cyber risk, just like definition again. So as we say, the level of particular twist using special attack. So that's what we need to know. So the risk is like the likelihood and then plus the impact. So maybe some like business like some like criticality, and then I hope the vulnerability exposure like twist like migrating control. So all this will cause the risk. Okay. So and then when we need to consider the vulnerabilities, severity, twist level, business criticality, exposure, usage to the risk. Okay. Risk and negative effect for any like compensation controls and enterprise has in place. Most of it in place, that means they exist right here. So right here we need to like identify. So those that we talk about the weakness and then determine the applicabilities of significance of the twist to organization. Then somehow we need to like need a combination of the twist and vulnerability to create a risk to an assess. And the outcome should be a list of like the twist or vulnerability with a belief, a description of how and why they may occur. Right here, and then for the twist is like okay, structure analysis of the twist that like confirms an enterprise. So for the environmental twist is like the surface like weather, storm, lightning, or like mimic. Of course, like for the environment, we have no way to like we have no way to avoid it's like it's going to really happen, and just like always have a backup. So like backup, and but for the mimic, like we try to do the prevention, we have like something called the internal or external. And by the excellence, like maybe the employees or outside that attempt to disrupt the organization, there's all possible. Also the quantitative the risk calculation. So right here we have called the SLA, the single loss expectancy. So the value of loss of a single event. Okay, so let's say the cell phone, maybe for the document it's really hard, but for the hardware, so it has a value. But for some like but most of that is the hardware, but most of the time, the loss is the personal information, the security data. So let's say they expose the document, like maybe they have a project, so maybe a project details. And or sometimes, like most of the time, it's the customer information, like their name, email, their credit card information. So it's pretty common. So that one's they really have to evaluate. So the annual rate of like occurrence, ARO, the frequency of events, ALE, annual loss like expression. So this one we just times it together, and then sometime in the company, like after they like the reason we have a quantitative like risk calculation. So for a company we do like put part of it as a cost, especially for hardware. So for some company, they do think, okay, maybe how many percent of if we can calculate, like let's say, okay, I will be expecting maybe in average, I will losing like 5 cell phone going to be stolen. That was more like physical store. Like let's say I'm the let's say AT&T or so like any those have a physical store, and then people come to steal the cell phone. I guess okay, maybe in average would be 5 cell phones per year. Then I just say times it. So I know, okay, so my expected loss would be 4,000 like this. So they put it here, and then the quantitative is using the metrics to like computer assessment, and then the quantitative subjective assessment. So okay. And how can we evaluate? So it's the called a risk register. So this is something called the risk register. So with system like good similar risk, like probabilities of like occurrence, that means like maybe how often. So when we call the risk management, we always like already expect, okay, how much for the, as well as say like for hardware, like really physical stuff, if some people they stole your stuff, there's something being stole, then we'll know, we can count, okay, how much is it. But for some like data, it's really hard to calculate. Okay, but maybe like from like in by the like legal way, if let's say if you lost some personal information of one customer, how much you need to pay, or like what you're going to do, then like what's the cost, then you can count as it. Okay, so and then what are the impacts to the organization, and also the mitigation of the factors, and then also about the supply chain assessment. So for us, like we not only say, okay, not looking on their own system, but rather without their vendors. As well, we know, so we are not only looking for one system, but they say it's a vendor, but also we know that sometimes the system we will share with others, or we will share information. So it's a kind of a chain. When they are able to access one system, they may be able to figure out other system, because all the system we always try to have a connection. We say we have the gateway to let them communicate. So here's a risk. And if let's say they are, what happened if suppliers stop production of some like critical components, then what are we going to do? So here's the impact. So we have high, medium, level, just classify them like 3. So high for one organization, maybe low for others. Okay, so that means really depends. Okay, and then for the different type of impact, most of the time like cost is always common, performance, and also schedule. And then for the response like techniques, like let's say we need to accept. So knowing that you are like taking a risk, so it's common. So here we like when we learning cybersecurity or any security issue, it's really common. We need to accept it. So also we need to thinking like we say choosing to accept a risk level greater than a normal for a business reason. Okay. Here we always have a mindset. Okay, so how much risk can we take? Or like maybe for this company, and maybe let's say I'm just for some small online shop. Okay, then I say, okay, it's okay. Can I losing the data info, like the customer information or something like that? Or maybe just like maybe some product information is okay. Can I lose those things? And if yes, then I would just like, okay, I prefer like put more resources to protect this one. Okay. And then transfer. So move the risk to another party, like purchasing like insurance is a one way. So it's doing and avoid, do not participate in the risk. So not persist with the activity or system that create this risk. Common sense, right? So don't do that. And then mitigate and then decrease the list of the risk. So that reduce the impact, so modify the structure or use the assets at the risk, and then reduce the impact on the organization should the risk occur. So this one is always like doing is common behavior. We just like, so that's why we have to call it auditing. Require like auditing, review, change. So it's bigger and then reduce the likelihood. So we implement suitable control to lower the chance. So that's what the like always the behavior we should do for. And then emphasize the existing controls. So existing control can be used to attempt to minimize the risks need to be identified. And then the security control include like management and operational and also technical processes and procedures. So just use a checklist for the existing control. So suppose when they implement when they set up all those like security things, we always need to have a document like everything well documented and showing okay what do you said and then what the access right, everything. It can help us. So it's easier for us to like doing the interview. So like, so we can see here. So the line of like rarely, so most occur in the exceptional circumstance, and then maybe then deemed like unlucky. So sometimes really unlucky, unlikely, possible, or likely, the most like certain. We are pretty sure if we do it in this way, it's really going to happen. Sometimes if the firewall, we don't set it, like just open all the ports, then it's really pretty almost certain it's going to happen. So it won't be unlucky. Okay. And just like more details right here. So if we have like insufficient minor, so for the consequence, so like moderate, like major, so just need to look at it for the risk consequence. And we can like put all these like in the different levels, like E, high, medium, low. So we require the details research, and the high require the management attention. Medium can be like managed by existing specific monitoring. Low just through the routine procedure. We have different way, like say for the risk level determination or meaning. So like no matter we putting like EHML high or like just like minor to major, like we never know. And in different company or it depends on the team when you're working, we have different way. So they will classify from like level 1 to level 5, or like they're using the, sometimes they're using the different color code. So they are possible to represent it. Just need to know, okay, so what are those? Let's say if we talk about the risk register, so let's say for the internet router for this one. So what are possible? The twist, that means the outside attacker attack. And then the threat itself is like we didn't set the structure is like the firewall policy. So sometimes we say the threat, that means that itself, but the twist is the action, like it say, okay, it's possible to like it. And then accessing control, maybe the like admin password, that's it. So it's possible, like maybe moderate, which of the level would be high and then priority. So we can like listing it like this way, making a table. And here's one more example. So we will put like different have a ID, and then putting different priority. So describe the risk description of the contents right here. Refer to, but depends on when we study, just like refer to, but you're not really required to like in this class, you are not required really making a table for this, but just need to know. Okay. And also we have got the heat map. So the heat map is showing, okay, in different level, like green is the lowest, and then when we're getting red, we call the heat map, then it's the highest, like this one 5 to 5. So also is another way. So for testing, so after we have like based on the risk, we will try to check in, determine, and then after analyze, we try to apply. Then we need to test it. So penetrating testing authorization. First step is the penetrating testing and getting the authorization. Although like all of us, when we talk about like hacker attacker, like some like gray hat, like black hat. So or some company they do pay for the say attacker to like testing their system. Like sometimes we do the internal, or sometimes we pay for other like third party to doing it, try to let them to attack my system. You pay for it. Also, if you are like under execution, like running the system, sometimes they will always like open. They will give the bonus. Why not lots of company they doing it? If you able to find some backdoor or like something risk, and then you also able, sometimes they ask you to provide the if you're able to discover, it's okay. And then if you're able to provide solution, they will really pay you pretty good. Yeah, so it's like they're working right now. Lots of company they do it in this way. But if you are maybe student, most of them, some student really smart, and they really able to find, so they even will give them an offer, let them to working in their company too. So this one. So the vulnerabilities are the testing authorization. We scan a specific vulnerability or like the risk. Like we focus on certain things. The risk like will be based on the one maybe you think is like important. So the assets. So we say why we need to like check what's the thing important to the organization. But all these we're doing is like under permission. So it's like just like common sense, like you say, without permission, you just attack it illegally. So we need to take in risk. Okay. And also we need to like when we change the management, let's say we say auditing, so we need to like making the hardware software change, not the system are fat, and the structure and control, ensure the products like continue to operate as a planned. So all this. So far you see right here the risk assessment will be like assess and the monitoring response. So we always like working together. We need to have when we decide the frame, so the framework, and then when we have the information and communication flow will be between monitoring and assess. We check in, and then maybe we have after we monitor something, detect something happen, then what are we going to respond? Or something like based on our response, how can we assess it? So all this will be like this, the process. And here's the flow. So we see the trace like source, and then we initialize, and then we have an event, and then we say expose, and then the vulnerability, and then based on different group. So and then we have different condition. So we have advanced the impact, and based on the impacts, so we produce the organization risk. So it's a basic flow. For here, like we have a strategic risk. So first, like type 3 information system, maybe 2 like going the mission or business like process, and then the top will be the organization. So here, like the inter-tie or like intra-tie communication, like we have a feedback loop for the continuous improvement. So always say have a communication. So we need to put it in, and then we need to have traceability and transparency. So for here, all the like the risk-based decision, so just a document, and we should say that able to trace, like traceability, we should have a document, like list everything we said. Okay. And also the organization was like risk awareness, just note. Okay, and then the risk management, step one, prepare the assessment, so they should know, and then step two, we try to conduct the assessment, so right here is for, that we know what's the, identify the twist sources, so that means we need to know what the threat is, okay. So if we know the threat, then we can take like, we know what the possible twist they're going to do, okay. And then identify the new probability and determine the likelihood. So we talk about likelihood, and then the risk is like say the likelihood and plus the impact. So, okay, and then determine the magnitude of the impact and determine the risk. So in the same time, right here, step three, we need to like communicate the result, and also like step four, we need to maintain the assessment. So here's like the procedure. Theoretically, like that's what we learn. But in in the company, depends on company size, we are maybe not really taking everything, or like sometimes depends on team. They have a own way to do it, but most of the time, good behavior always need to know and have documents like traceable. Okay. And for the analysis, so the process like analysis, trace and with no probability of information system and potential impact loss the information capability. So it'll be like this, and then just like we need to list of this, and then what the control, possible control loss, and then we always say the cost benefit analysis. So is it always good? So always you talk about this. Risk is always exists and depends on the activities we are doing. So just check. Okay, so is it worth? Sometimes they okay. Of course, I want to protect everything, but just I need to know we are impossible to like protect all the assets, like all the things inside system. Then we need to really just like have a trade-off. Okay, if it doesn't work to like sometimes for the it's really happen like for the team, maybe you're working on it, so I need to make sure that all the system, but as a boss or the manager, they say, okay, it doesn't work that if I spend this much money, then I want to protect it, that it doesn't work. They say, then they are not allow you to do it. So it's also happening in the real situation. So to them, they don't think, okay, it doesn't matter once it lost. And that's why when we calculate, you remember the SLE or the NLE, those. So when we after the calculation, you say, okay, if it's affordable, like to this much loss, even maybe it's really like maybe contradict or like it's being so weird. But for an organization or company, we say, okay, we will have some like expected loss. And then when we have some expected loss, then compare with the cost, I need to impairment, like to protect it. If it doesn't work, it's not equal, then we are not really do it. Just let it be. Okay. So all these like analyze, just like go to the proper security plan. That's what I'm going to do. And then we have some kind of like benefits, like improve the awareness and then identify the assets. So we know the list, and also we can improve the basis of the decision. So we know that reduce the productivity, and the culture need to be justified. Some is serious enough like this. Also justify the expenditures for security. So some control may be too expensive then without obvious benefit, or the benefit is not enough to us like to pay. And then to the steps, as we say, identify, determine, and then estimate of it, and then consider those like what's the person trace, and then the strength of it, and then effectiveness, and then compute the expected the annual loss. So what are the possible loss like this? And then surveys applicable. So it's new control. Like if the unauthorized access is too high, then access the control hardware software need to be re-evaluated. Always. So that's what auditing. So like the computer project annual saving of control. So I think just like about the money. Just right here, like when we are explaining of the calculation. So right here, so if I can save this much, then maybe your boss, your manager, they will see, okay, if I save this much is enough, then I will take this action or apply this plan. Okay. Sometimes you say if this number is not attractive, they are not taking. So we need to accept this, like as a business, like to them organization, also depends on the level of the asset they have. Maybe you say, okay, people say it's just 5,000, 10,000, maybe say, okay, we can bear this week. So we are not taking anything. So especially for your role or as your job, maybe thinking, we should do that, but they are not saying that we check it. So right here, so just like go through some example. If you're interested, you can look at it, but we don't have to ask you to calculate all this. So just need to know, you need to list all the costs right here, adding together. So based on how much you save, expected the annual loss right here, how much you save minus the one you cost, and say, okay, it's just a negative. There's nothing can help. Then it makes sense. We are not taking any action, right? So right here, there's some arguments against the risk NSS. So it's like it's the not the persist or the cost per occurrence, like false like sensor like precisions, like the quantification of the cost I provide, the false sense of security, immutability, the field or forgotten need to annual update, something like this. No scientific foundation. So all right here. And then the last one, this part, so we try to cover this one, the risk. Mitigation is any step taken to reduce the risk. So we say with substantial risk the portion of risk remaining after the security measure have been applied. So we still have some like possible, like we are not able to we need to accept one thing. It's like when we take this action or like we increase the security level, but we still have the risk like remaining. So we need to know these things. So for this one is like really to like completely eliminate. Then we need to know, just like keep it as a minimum. So at a certain level higher than the risk itself, then it's okay. Okay, so we have more example, but if you're interested, you can look at it. But we don't have to. So tool for risk assessment to understand the system, develop the attack and scenarios, and understand the security consequence, and then greater and the risk plan, and then generate a report. Working in the organization, OSA, we talk about the reports. Yeah, everything reports document. So it can help us to review and checking what are the possible risk and easy to monitor. Okay, so here so far for everything here about the risk assessment. Thank you so much, and that's all for today's class.